Hello, and welcome to Spiritual Awakenings, Your Stories. Did you know that your soul communicates through your heart? When you've suffered pain and trauma and even a broken heart, that your heart starts to close down? When your heart closes down, you lose communication with your soul. And then you'll have experiences in your life that will continue to bring you much pain and suffering. If you don't experience some type of a healing in your heart space, you'll lose that connection. And that's why I'm bringing you the stories of people's awakenings, because when you have a spiritual awakening, you heal those wounds and traumas and broken hearts, and you find your heart again, which in fact brings you back to your soul. So I'm really excited to be doing this show today because I have a special guest. My friend Bev Mann from London is here to share her story of her awakening. Now for myself, I know 4 years ago I had my spiritual awakening and it changed my life forever in the best way. And that's why I feel it is so important to bring these stories to you, the viewers, so that you can understand yourself and what's possibly happening in your own life. So enjoy this show and please let us know what you think. Thank you. Hi, Bev.
Hi there, Kimberly.
It's so good to see you. This is Bev Mann from the UK, and she is here in New Hampshire visiting us for a week. And I wanted to bring you in today because I know you are definitely a spiritually awakened woman, and you teach about the heart space and about healing and love and all the things that are so important to be connected to our soul. So today I would like to actually ask you, what was going on in your life? Where were you in your life when you first realized that connection somehow was broken to your soul? Can you recall that?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me on the show.
Oh, you're
excited
welcome.
to be here. So, it's very interesting to hear you speak about the connection with the soul and the heart. And that's really a powerful statement, and I like that a lot. And I can feel that with myself, I can honestly admit to having my heart broken in various different ways and various different stages in my life. I feel like the first one, if I really sit down and think about it, was when my father passed, and I was very heavily pregnant with my first child. And the mixed emotions going on in my heart was, it's really hard to express, for people to comprehend, because it was the happiest time in my life, and yet it was the saddest time in my life. And I do believe that my heart did shut down. I found it very difficult to cope, very difficult for people to really understand what was truly going on inside. And I think I hid it quite well, because I think that's what people tend to do. They tend to sort of camouflage what's going on. So that was really profound for me, because actually I remember being heavily pregnant and laying down because I was so exhausted, and knowing that I was going to have my son early so that my dad could see him before he passed. And I remember laying down and seeing this huge ball of beautiful bright light, like the sun, coming closer and closer and closer to me. And it was one of the most profound, beautiful experiences. Even though it's over 27 years ago, I still remember it to this day. It was a real awakening. And then after that, without going into too much detail, I had my heart broken over various other emotional issues. And what I found was I started to suffer with, interestingly, high blood pressure. And I do believe that it manifests in the body as well. So it went completely to my heart chakra. I was having these high blood pressure problems, on medication, and actually only now finding several years later that my doctor's saying, why are you on these high blood pressure medication? You don't need it anymore. And I truly feel it's because I've been working on my own heart center and being able to understand and work through that emotionally difficult times that I've had.
Now, do you find when you first had that recognition of that awakening, did you find that you went through various stages of your awakening as a result of that? When your father died and you felt your heart closing down and you said that you had to hide yourself a little bit. How did that manifest further out? What did that lead to as far as shutting off from your soul, in a sense? Like, what did you experience as a result of shutting down at that point?
I feel because I just had a baby and had to take control of a completely new life. I was a mother and a carer of a new life as well. And that responsibility, which, people talk about, post-traumatic.
Postpartum?
Yeah, when after having a baby. But I kind of tried to sort of like go into automatic pilot mode and try to cope with it all. So yeah, it was really difficult just trying to get through the time, and I feel that I didn't have my next spiritual awakening to quite some time afterwards, because I was on this automatic pilot where I was just going through the motions of being a mom, caring for my family, and as well as my mom, who's been in and out of illnesses. So you just kind of like, as most people will recognize, just getting through day by day stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a healer, I find when I work with clients, and you probably have this happen too, is that people will have an awakening and they start to question things, and they start to realize that everything outside of them that's happening has to do with what's inside of them, and it usually leads to finding what's, cut off in the heart space, cut the connection from the soul. So I find some people start to do the work and they get a little bit scared, or they're not ready to do it, so they shut back down. But do you find once that seed is planted, when someone does have an awakening, no matter how far they go, it'll always go back to that, and at some point they're really ready to take a look at that and start working on that? Do you find that with clients?
I feel that it really has to start from within, because in my own experience, and I can only speak from my own experience and from what I've seen of other people, when you start to close down and you start to shut off and you're telling people that everything's okay, and you know that you've got this depression, and it's such a subject that people don't want to discuss mental health issues. And so we've had these profound experiences in our lives, and I do believe that many of us light workers have gone through profound experiences of heartbreak and stuff that makes them into the person that they are. And so you go off to the doctor because everyone says you need to go and see the doctor, and then it's masked with antidepressants, which is a whole new story. Mm-hmm. But I feel that sometimes we're not treating the cause, we're just treating the symptoms.
Yes.
And we're there again masking it by tablets, by pills. Mm-hmm. And we're not getting to the root of the problem. And it takes a lot to actually face yourself and look at yourself in the mirror. And I often say that to my clients that come and see me, or people that come for a reading. And I said the hardest thing to actually do is to look at yourself in the mirror and look deep within your own eyes and see what you see, and see your eyes reflect the mirrors of your soul. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's about coming to terms with self and liking self, because there are so many people that actually don't like themselves, or they actually don't know themselves. They don't like being on their own. And like you say, Kimberly, this is a really painful journey to actually sit with oneself, either by looking in the mirror or just sitting in the quiet and allowing the tears to fall and blessing them.
I agree. I know when I was having my awakening, I mean, you know that I had overcome addiction 7 years ago. I had many points in my life where I had hit the bottom, the trauma, the pain, the heartbreak. Those were times in my life when I could have actually decided to change my life. And that's when you have an awakening, it's a commitment to finally go do the work and find out why everything outside of you is falling apart, why your heart is aching and breaking. So I know there are different points in life where you can take that. And it took me really a good number of times to have my heart broken and just things fall apart. So when I finally did do my awakening, I mean, I was so committed to, the pain was so bad for me that I actually decided I'm going to give up everything until I find out why this is happening. Because I finally, don't you agree, it's acceptance? Everything outside of you happening is having to accept it must be me, it must be something within me because it can't be this stuff happening over and over again. Every time I get on my feet and I feel better from the last heartache, it happens again. So with the awakening, it's about going in and clearing and doing the work so that you are actually finding who you really are. So when you had your biggest awakening moment through these different stages, what was different like that time that really made it that you really were ready to go inward and really face those aspects of yourself? Like, how did you get to the point of really doing that inner healing, and how did you know how to do it? How did you find the way to get there to do that?
Yeah, see, although the circumstances are similar between us, I was already on my spiritual journey because I'd already experienced spirit as a small child by seeing spirit, experiencing lights around me, and being woken up in the night. And I was already had some connection with the spirit world, but not in a large way. And then what happened was the passing of my father and giving birth to a child, going through all that trauma of this new life that I was supposed to embrace. It was only then that I started along my pathway, and I was led to spiritually develop and went to circles and realized that I had this gift, that I was able to connect with loved ones that had passed to the spirit world, that I really started to awaken without actually realizing it, because my trauma had happened beforehand. And working with the spirit world, and I always say to people that are starting to spiritually develop, that once you take this journey, you know, and you are a sensitive and you are a light worker, once you start taking this journey, you become completely different. You start to see things and people in a different light. You're reading into people's thoughts and feelings. People will say things to you when you know that that's not right, they're not speaking their truth. And even things like going to concerts, loud noises. I couldn't cope with loud noises or people coming too close to me because I would feel into their energy.
So was that your connection with your soul, do you think? Because you started being more in tune with your surroundings? Do you think it's because you finally were in tune with your soul and you started making that connection, which gave you the ability to have your senses heightened?
Exactly. I started to heighten my senses, and like I say, this is what happens when you start this wonderful journey, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. I started to view everyone around me, not only myself, but also other people, family members, friends, all my relationships, I started to look at, because it was not only with them, it was also, like you're saying, with myself, how they were viewing me and what role I was expected to play. And is this the role that I want to play? No, I'd had my spiritual awakening. I wasn't that person anymore. You know, my friends started to change. You know, the conversations that I used to have with people no longer mattered to me, because speaking about the spirit world and about the evolving world was far more interesting than listening to news about the latest handbag or what
gossip
or gossip, you know.
Yep.
It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
And these kind of connections that we have was just so much more exciting and fun for me, that you can speak to someone on a much deeper level and understand each other's souls. You know, people aren't going into friendships on a true soul connection. We live in such a plastic world, and we don't see people's souls.
That's why it's so important for this awakening to share our stories, because there are a lot of people awakening right now. And, you know, for those of you who don't know what I mean by awakening, it's when you start to have an awareness of yourself, your circumstances, you start to see things differently. I know for me, the awakening process is that I felt I was looking through a new lens. I could see the world in a whole different way. And it wasn't about me anymore. And it wasn't about the external and about, you know, selfish reasons. It was about who I am, why I'm here, how do I feel about things? What is my connection to everything? That was kind of the feeling I got when I woke up. So when I had that awakening, my whole world changed, because once I could see the truth of what was really going on and why I was having the relationships I did and the friendships, I really could see how things were out of balance. And as I grew and let go of a lot of those beliefs and feelings and things that came with me from childhood, I was able to shift and change and start to have new friendships that were more, like you said, soul based, and have connections that I had never experienced before with everything. I know for me, my intuition, it was heightened, and it helped me become more intuitive. And I also realized I forgot to tell people, the viewers, what you do. You're talking about seeing spirit and things like that. Bev is an international spiritual medium from London, and she connects people with their loved ones who've crossed over. She has a very, very strong connection with spirit. So that is important to bring this to light, so you guys know who she is. Maybe you could tell the people a little bit more about what you do, and how that helps people with their awakening and finding their soul and the healing that goes along with it.
So this is what I'm saying. My experience was kind of like the other way around, because I was already starting to connect with spirit and working with spirit, started to do demonstrations and readings, etc. And then I was like viewing things from like Kimberly said, from a different lens. And I realized that the role that I had chosen to take in my life, that everyone around me had doing, the wife and the mother and the daughter, you know, of course I'm still all those things and still embrace them. But I realized that I had another purpose. And this purpose was so strong and so heartfelt that I knew I had to follow this path. And it's one of the most, you know, obviously besides my family, it's one of the most important things in my life. And it's just because you're able to help other people, reach out to them and heal them in so many different ways. And one of the ways you can heal people is not just by hands-on healing, which is what most people believe that healing is about. It's also about healing through your words. And my job as a medium, I'm the conduit between the spirit world and our earthly world, and to bring forward our loved ones who are in spirit and made that transition to the spirit world, and to let their loved ones, the spirit world, let their loved ones be known that they are still around us and they still see what goes on in our everyday life. Because our belief is that you can't die for the life of you. So the physical body may die, yes. The physical body dies and goes back to the earth. But the spiritual body, that never leaves us, because we are all made up of energy, and you can't kill energy. So everyone's memories, everything about a person is still there to access. And for me, that's the greatest job in the world, that I'm able to access that information and help people, let them know that their loved ones are still around them, and to have that healing experience.
So having your spiritual awakening led you to your soul's purpose. Now, I know before I had my awakening, I had my life's purpose was hairdressing, healing people through talking, doing the hair. I had no idea that my life's purpose would change to a soul's purpose. So that was my love, my career. And then when I had my awakening, my job, I felt, was now I need to help awaken other people, to let them know that there is so much more to what they are and who they are and why they're here. To help them heal from their pain, their trauma, to take that healing, whatever it is that they've come out of it with, and do something to help other people. So before you had your awakening, your life's work was something different? Did you have a different career before doing your soul's purpose?
I had lots of different jobs. I had lots of different careers. I fulfilled many roles. I was a secretary, I was a legal executive, doing my own conveyancing, working in a big law firm, and the council offices, doing legal work for them. I've had various roles. My biggest role, of course, is being a mother and a daughter. and that was my purpose. I felt that was my purpose in life, you know, to bring up two lovely children. But it was only when they got to that age where they didn't need me so much that I realized that I had so much more to give. And I started going to a college, the Arthur Findlay College, started to study my craft because I believe we can never stop learning. And I was told that I was going to be a teacher, a spiritual teacher. And I almost laughed myself off the chair, you know, like, me, a teacher? But now I realize now my awakening is that I am there to facilitate other people awakening to their gift. Mm-hmm. And although I do the readings and I do the galleries, etc., my biggest passion is teaching. I love to be able to help people understand that most people do have this ability. I liken it to look like a muscle. And if you think of someone doing their exercises, the more we exercise, the more the muscle gets stronger. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that we've all got intuition. We've all got so many psychic gifts. They tell us that we only use 8% of our brains. So what about the other 92%?
I wonder
what about all those
that?
muscles that are hiding in your brain? So, you know, my job is to facilitate that and help people. So I do a lot of workshops in the UK mm-hmm. and travel around. I've been to Spain, I've been here in the States. And I just love to be able to give the gift of showing people that they are able to do this, to reach out mm-hmm. and how the best they can work with their gifts. I teach many different levels. I teach people about their psychic faculties and, you know, all the things, the basic fundamental intuitive mm-hmm. skills that we have, like the déjà vu and seership, etc., where you foretell something that's happening. And then slowly take them into the mediumship and nurture that gift. Because to be able to give that soul-to-soul communication from spirit through my spirit to another person is just the most rewarding job in the world. And teaching people and watching them get their wow moments. Incredible.
It's incredible. I mean, I never in a million years did I think that I would be talking to people about these types of things, helping people wake up. It's like I tune right into them. I mean, I loved my hairdressing and that was my world. And then after my awakening, all I wanted to do was help other people who were suffering. Like I was called to do it. And even I didn't understand what that meant, and it just led me on this journey of, you know, talking to anybody I could about what was happening with them and being intuitive, because my gifts did open when I had my awakening, that I became intuitive and I could read other people myself, and it was almost like I could get right into their heart and know where their pain was.
I was going to say that. You kind of go right in
You go right in there, and it's like, okay, and you spirit, or, you know, the universe or whatever you want to call it, has a way of using you. And it goes through you to help somebody else. It guides you right where to go, where that pain is, where that suffering, that trauma. And you're able to talk to them in a way to get that healing and to get them to start doing the work. And that's what's so beautiful about awakening, because I know personally that from my awakening, my life was trauma-filled, pain, so many things my entire life. So all I wanted to do was get to the root of it and understand why it was happening so that I could heal. I didn't realize as a result I would actually help other people go through the process. I mean, that's a gift.
What a wonderful gift.
It is such a gift. So, you know, after you came through all this, I know, you know, we're meant to use our gift once we find them. How are you using your gift now? Tell us about what you're doing, what's going on with your life. You have your awakening. You realize that your spiritual gift is to help teach other people, you know, through mediumship in the heart and opening and giving messages. What are you doing with it now? What kinds of things are you doing, and what's coming up for you in your life right now?
Well, I'm still doing my private readings, and quite often I find, like anything, the law of attraction, like attracts like. So quite a lot of people are coming to me who feel that they have a gift. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who are highly sensitive don't realize that they actually do have that gift. And they just think they've been told throughout their lives they're just oversensitive, etc., etc. You're reading into it wrong, blah, 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 blah. So my job is to help them realize that they're not going mad, that they're normal, and I'm there to help them and facilitate them getting on in their life. Mm-hmm. What am I doing? As I said, I'm still doing my readings. I'm very much doing my teachings. And I want to get out into the world as much as I can to help other people discover their gift, but not only discover it, to understand their gift. Because it's all about healing and it's all about love. I think that we get quite taken up with, oh, you know, this is showmanship. It's not showmanship. It's about healing and it's about reaching out to other people. And some time back, when I very first came to Boston, I was given the title. Someone said to me, well, what's your title? What's your name? And I said, I don't know. And she said, well, let me connect in with Spirit and I'm going to find out. And she came back within 5 minutes and said, Bev Man, mediumship from the heart.
It fits you perfect.
Thank you.
It really does.
And that's exactly what I want. I'm trying to teach people when they're doing their mediumship to work with the emotion, to bring mediumship and spiritualism into the modern day era. Because, you know, we can all have a grandma that baked apple pies and, you know, wore a pinny and whatever. But I want people to understand what was in that grandma's mind. How did she touch that person's life? What were the special memories? What made her her? You know, because we all have loads of grandmas. And let's face it, we're living in a society now where some grandmas have body piercings and tattoos. So, you know, let's not take the easy option for mediumship and try and work at a much deeper level. So I'm hoping to do some, I just done a cruise, which I know you came as my guest. I worked on a Psychic Caribbean cruise. I've got another couple of cruises coming up. So that will be announced very shortly. And hopefully some spiritual retreats where perhaps Kimberly and I will be...
we have things planned.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Where we will be teaching about these skills. And they are life skills. I only wish that schools taught people these wonderful life skills. So we're going to be taking people back to basics and from psychic right through to mediumship. We've got some great collaborations with some other wonderful intuitives and mediums. And yes, so the sky's the limit because we just want to reach out and help people.
Yeah. Well, it's a process. You know, I look at it, you have the person who's suffering in pain, going around in circles. Then you have the awareness, it's got to be me. Then you start to have the awakening. Then you go through the healing work. That's the dark night of the soul stuff where you go really deeply inward. You heal. Then you emerge as who you truly are meant to be. Then you share your gifts. There is a process for this. And any advice to anybody who's watching who is on the verge of having this awakening, or they're ready to do this, but they're still living in that fear kind of place? Because again, isn't the awakening about conquering fear? There is no fear. It's only love. So what advice would you give someone who is ready to step out?
Talk to someone that you can trust, and because sometimes when we go to our family members, we kind of get poo-pooed, or you're talking rubbish or whatever. Go and speak to someone who will understand. Go for a reading. Go to speak to another medium. Obviously, someone that's been highly recommended. Be very careful about just psychics. There are a lot of people that are just wanting to make a dollar. Just go to someone
like
that you can trust. Yeah, I'm open to giving people advice.
Okay, so I know the show, we're getting the cue from the producer. We need to wrap it up. So I would like you to tell people how they may find you, because if you are interested in anything that Bev is talking about, I know she has a wonderful website. And she is available to speak with you. She has so many things going on in the future. So if you're interested in anything that Bev is doing or have questions, where can people find you?
You can find me through my website, and you can also email me direct through my website. There is an opening there. My website is bevman.co.uk. So that's BEVMANN.co.uk. And also through my Facebook page, Bev Man, and there's also Bev Man Mediumship from the Heart. Do connect with me. I'm only too happy to help you on your journey.
And she will be able to let you know when she's coming back to the States, so maybe you'll be able to connect with her in some workshops or just come for a reading or a visit.
That's wonderful. Yes, I'm also going to be doing some online mentoring, so anyone who would be interested in that, you know, we live in a modern age now. with technology. So anyone who wants to connect with me one-to-one, give you individual lessons, then I'm more than happy to do that as well.
Great. Well, Bev, I am so thrilled that you were here. This is really a special thing for me to have you here. This is only my second episode, and I am very grateful to have you, and I think the world of you. You guys have to check her out. She's fantastic. I've seen her in action and seen a lot of healing and work. And, well, the two of us together are like Ethel and Lucy anyways, but
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you tuned into this show, and I would love to hear your feedback. If you are interested in any intuitive work, you can find me at KimberlyDesiree.com. That's DEZIREE. And we look forward to seeing you again in our next episode. Be extraordinary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.